The door rattled under her fist before she even had a chance to breathe. Dust stuck to the sweat on her palms, and when she opened her mouth, only a dry rasp came out. "Please," she said, voice trembling. "Anything. Food. Water. Please." She stumbled forward, knees brushing the threshold, boots scraping the wooden floor. The cowboy was there in the doorway before she fully crossed it, tall, lean, eyes narrowing under the brim of his hat. His hand hovered near the doorframe, cautious but steady. "What's your name?" he asked. No softness, no smile. Just the question. She swallowed hard, shaking. "Mary," she said, barely audible. Her lips cracked, teeth chattering, eyes darting to the corners of the room as if she expected shadows to lunge at her. The cowboy's jaw tightened. "Mary what?" His voice cut through the tense air like a whip. She swallowed again. "I don't have one. Just Mary." Her body shivered, dust falling from her sleeves, streaking the floor. "Where have you been?" he asked, stepping back slightly, giving her room but keeping her contained. She blinked, unsure if she should answer. "I ran. From the house. From him. From everyone." Her voice broke, low and thin, trailing into the silence. The cowboy didn't move. He just watched, eyes sharp, hands still near his belt, posture rigid. "Ran?" he asked. "You think you're safe here?" She swallowed again, gaze dropping. "I don't know. I just hungry. I can work. Anything." Her voice was tiny, desperate. Dust motes floated in the thin morning sunlight coming through the doorway, shimmering against the lines of dirt on her face. He tilted his head, studying her. The room smelled of old wood and smoke, faintly of the feed he kept in the back. He could see the scratches on her arms, faint burns that were nothing but whispers on pale skin. "Work?" he asked. "For food?" She nodded so hard it was almost a jerk. "Yes. Please. Anything. I'll do anything." She swallowed, tears clinging to her lashes. "I don't want to die outside." He took a step back, rubbing the back of his neck. "Anything means what?" he asked. He didn't raise his voice, but it was sharp enough. She stepped closer, shoulders hunched, voice quivering. "Cooking. Cleaning. Tending. I can stay silent. Don't want trouble." She forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her hair fell over her face, damp with sweat and dust. He caught the movement out of the corner of his eye. "Stay silent," he repeated, voice low, almost suspicious. I keep to myself. I don't speak unless spoken to." The cowboy's eyes narrowed, gaze flicking to the corners of the room, then back to her. He studied the way she trembled, the way her hands flexed, the subtle shifts of fear in her posture. Something wasn't just desperation, it was history. Heavy, dragging, unspoken. "You're not lying," he said finally, his voice quiet. She flinched at the sound of the words. "I wouldn't lie," she whispered. She swallowed hard, clenching her jaw. Dust streaked her cheeks, her lips dry and cracked. He stepped aside, opening the door wider. "Then come in. But stay where I can see you." Her eyes went wide, a mixture of relief and caution. She stepped forward, boots scraping against the old wooden floor, leaving faint dust trails. The door swung shut behind her, the lock clicking into place. She exhaled slowly, shoulders sagging, but only for a moment. He kept his distance, still leaning slightly toward the doorway, alert, eyes sharp. "Sit," he said. She lowered herself onto a worn chair near the hearth, knees pulled up slightly, hands gripping the edge of the seat. Dust fell from her sleeves, streaking the floorboards. The cowboy set a small tin cup of water before her. She hesitated, fingers trembling, then lifted it, gulping in shallow sips. When she lowered the cup, her lips quivered. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice was raw, the edges of fear and relief mingling. He didn't respond immediately. He watched her, lean silhouette framed in the doorway's light, dust catching in the air. You hungry?" he asked finally. She nodded so vigorously it nearly shook the cup in her hand. He disappeared for a moment, returning with a small loaf of bread, crust hard and dry but nourishing. He set it before her without a word. She tore at it with trembling hands, biting quickly, swallowing even quicker. He stood near the doorway, eyes scanning the room, scanning her, scanning the shadows she seemed to carry behind her eyes. "Where's he?" he asked abruptly. "Who?" she whispered, voice low. "The man you ran from. Who's chasing you?" Her eyes widened. "I can't say. He'll know." Her voice faltered. Dust floated lazily through the shaft of morning light, catching on the lines of dirt across her face. He leaned slightly closer, hand brushing the doorframe. "He'll know what?" His voice was quiet but cutting. "That I went. That I survived. He'll come for me. For me, for anyone helping me." She swallowed, lips trembling, hands gripping the bread tightly. He straightened slowly. "Then you stay here. I'll handle him if he comes." His voice was flat but carried a weight she felt in her bones. She looked up, eyes wide, disbelief and relief mingling in equal measure. "Handle him," she whispered. "I don't want trouble." He cut her off. "You're safe inside these walls. For now. But I'll need to know, can I trust you?" She nodded quickly, desperation sharpening her movements. "Yes. Yes. Anything. I trust you." He let the words hang for a moment, silent. Then he stepped back slightly, scanning the corners again, hands flexed near his belt. "All right," he said finally. "Eat. Rest. Don't go wandering." She nodded, voice tiny. "I won't." Dust swirled slowly in the morning light, the silence thick, heavy, carrying unspoken histories, fear, and the tentative promise of protection. Her hands still trembled as she lifted the bread again, tears welling in her eyes. "You don't know what it's like," she whispered. "I ran. She swallowed hard, shaking, unable to finish the sentence. He watched her, expression tight, jaw set. "I don't need to know. Not yet. Just stay alive." She nodded again, silent tears streaking her cheeks, dust smudging them further. Her body seemed smaller, coiled into herself, trembling under the weight of relief and exhaustion. He stayed by the doorway, quiet, vigilant, listening to the creaks of the old house, the wind stirring outside, the faint distant noises of the ranch. Shadows shifted across the floor and walls, dust drifting in golden shafts of morning light, every corner heavy with history, fear, and memory. "Can I sleep here?" she asked finally, voice low, almost scared to speak. He studied her, eyes narrowing, then slowly nodded. "In the corner near the hearth. But keep the fire small. I need to see shadows, not hide in them." She exhaled slowly, relief washing over her. "Thank you," she whispered. She lowered her head, shoulders sagging, finally letting herself rest for the first time in days. The cowboy remained near the door, silhouette sharp in the sunlight, hand flexing near his belt, eyes scanning, mind quiet but alert, keeping her within the boundary of safety he was offering. The room smelled of smoke and old wood, dust, and faint traces of grain. Every creak of the floorboards, every shifting shadow, carried weight. She nibbled the bread slowly, trembling, listening to the quiet. Outside, distant figures remained unseen but suggested, shadows in doorways, watchers of human fragility. He stayed silent, watchful, letting her eat, letting her breathe, letting her exist in the fragile bubble of safety he'd carved for her. And for the first time in days, she dared a small, uncertain hope. She stirred slightly in the corner near the hearth, the thin blanket wrapped around her trembling shoulders. Dust clung to the edges of her sleeves, and the faint smell of smoke and drywood filled her nose. The cowboy leaned against the doorway, hands crossed loosely in front of him, eyes scanning the room, scanning her, scanning the corners where shadows stretched long in the morning light. "You slept?" he asked. His voice was flat, calm, but carried a weight that made her start. "I tried," she whispered. Her throat was raw, voice trembling. She had shifted once, twice, curling tighter around the blanket. "Food?" he asked. She nodded quickly, hand reaching for the small loaf still sitting on the rough wooden floor. She tore at it with trembling fingers, crumbs falling into the dust, swallowing quickly. He stepped closer, boots creaking softly on the floorboards. "Answer me straight," he said. "Who else knows you're here?" She shook her head rapidly, eyes wide, lips pressed tight. "No one. I went alone." Her voice was small but insistent. She looked down at her hands, knuckles white, fingers trembling over the bread. "No one?" he asked again, sharper this time. She swallowed hard, nodding. "No one. I don't want them to find me." The light fell on her face, catching the tears dried into faint streaks along the dirt on her cheeks. He studied her carefully, eyes narrowing. "You've been running long?" She hesitated, fingers clutching the bread. "Yes. Days, maybe more. Don't remember. Just moving." Her voice cracked slightly, shaking with exhaustion and fear. "What did they do?" he asked, voice low, almost a murmur. She flinched, looking at him quickly. "They hurt. Made me," her voice broke, swallowed by a cough. "I don't know. I can't." She lowered her gaze, trembling. He stayed silent for a long moment, just watching her. "You can't stay there," he said finally, voice quiet but firm. "Not here. Not yet." She blinked, unsure if he meant outside or inside the house. "I don't understand," she whispered. He shook his head slowly, eyes flicking to the corners of the room. "I'll test you. Don't lie. Don't hide." She swallowed hard, tension coiling in her shoulders. "I won't," she promised, voice tight. He stepped to the hearth, crouching slightly, hands hovering near his belt. "Tell me every place you slept. Every person you passed. Every shadow you saw. I need to know if anyone followed." Her lips parted slightly, fear flashing in her eyes. "I can't remember, exactly. Only dust. Fields. Shadows. Old houses. People, distant. Watching." She glanced at him, hope and fear mingling in her expression. "Is that enough?" he asked. She nodded frantically, voice small. "Yes. Please, that's enough. I just want," her words faltered, voice catching in a sob. He exhaled slowly, straightening, hat casting a shadow across his face. "All right. For now, you stay here. I'll be outside. Watching." She looked up quickly, eyes wide, voice trembling. "Outside? Alone?" He nodded once, curt. "Safe, mostly. Don't move. Don't open doors. Don't call attention." She swallowed hard, nodding. "I understand. I won't." The silence stretched between them, thick, almost tangible, filled with dust, dust motes dancing in the light, shadows stretching across rough planks and worn furniture. She tried to eat more, small bites, shaking hands. "Do you think they'll come?" she asked, voice barely audible. He didn't answer immediately, just scanned the room, the corners, the shadows beyond the door. "Maybe. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. You're here. For now." She nodded, swallowing quickly, eyes darting toward the doorway. "For now," she repeated, as if tasting the words. The cowboy straightened, taking a slow step closer. "You're hiding. That means fear. That means danger. That means trust has to be earned." His voice was low, even, and she flinched slightly at the weight behind it. "I want to earn it," she whispered. "I can't cause trouble." Her words trembled, small, but there was determination beneath the fear. He studied her face, catching the glint of hope buried in exhaustion. "Earn it by staying quiet. Doing as I say. Watch, wait. Don't move. You understand?" She nodded quickly, almost violently. "Yes." I understand. He moved to the door, hand resting lightly on the frame, gaze sweeping the empty yard beyond. Dust rose from the path, faint tracks visible in the soft morning light. You hear me? He asked, voice carrying. She flinched at the sound, nodded again. Yes. I hear you. He exhaled slowly, letting the tension hang in the space between them. Good. Now eat. Keep strength. Shadows will come, maybe. If they do, you'll be ready, or I will be. Her fingers clutched the bread tighter, small trembling bites following. Do you trust me? She asked, voice faint, barely there. He didn't answer immediately, eyes flicking to the corners, scanning the walls and windows. I'll see, he said finally, voice low. I'll see what you can do. Her lips parted slightly, swallowing the small bite of bread, nodding. The weight in the room shifted subtly, dust floating in the thin light, shadows lingering in the corners, silent witnesses to the fragile trust forming. She shifted slightly, looking down at the rough floorboards, voice small. I will do as you say. I promise. He didn't respond, only watched, hands flexed slightly, jaw tight. Dust motes swirled in the air, catching the faint glow of morning sunlight. The room smelled of old wood, smoke, and faint sweat. Every creak in the boards carried weight. Every shadow seemed alive, watching, waiting. Do you think I'll be safe? She asked, voice trembling again, glancing toward the distant doorway. He exhaled slowly, shoulders tightening. Safe enough. For now. That's all anyone can promise. She nodded, swallowing, tears forming again, cheeks streaked with dust and dried moisture. She tried to steady herself, pressing her hands to her knees, breathing shallow but fast. He studied her posture, watching every flicker of motion. Tomorrow, he said finally, voice cutting through the quiet, you'll need to learn how to move here without being seen. Watch and wait. Shadows, corners, doors. Everything has a life. Everything watches. Understand? She nodded quickly, trembling. Yes. I understand. The shadows in the room seemed to lengthen, stretch along floorboards and walls, dust particles floating, catching the light like tiny stars in a dim, confined universe. He stepped back to the doorway, hand resting lightly on the frame. Eat. Rest. Learn. Shadows won't forgive mistakes. I won't either, if trouble comes. She swallowed hard, nodding, eyes wide, body tense. I will. I will do it. The cowboy didn't answer further. He lingered a moment, silhouette framed in the door, hat low, jaw tight, eyes scanning. Then he stepped out slowly, leaving her in the fragile bubble of safety he had carved, the warm sunlight catching dust motes swirling around her, shadows lingering at every corner. She ate slowly, trembling. Every sound made her flinch. Every creak of the boards sounded like footsteps. Every shaft of light seemed like a probe searching for secrets. She pressed the bread to her lips, small bites, trying to calm the shaking in her hands. Outside, the cowboy's shadow fell across the porch and yard, watchful, patient, unmovable. The house, silent but alive, held her within its memory-soaked walls, dust and shadow and dust motes the witnesses to her first day under his protection. She swallowed slowly, trembling, trying to ground herself. For the first time in a long while, she dared to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could survive. She moved slowly across the floorboards, fingers trailing along the rough wood, boots scraping lightly. The cowboy stood near the doorway, arms crossed, eyes narrowed, hat tilted low. Careful, he said, voice low but sharp. Step wrong, make noise, they'll hear. You understand? She nodded quickly, head bobbing, heart thudding. Yes. I understand. Dust floated in the morning sunlight, drifting through the open window like slow ghosts. She swallowed, looking down at her boots, careful not to disturb the faint streaks of dust already etched into the floor. He stepped closer, tilting his head, voice almost a whisper. See that corner? He gestured to the far side of the room, where shadows pooled against the wall. Dust settles differently there. Watch it. Shadows move with dust. You move wrong, they'll see. She shifted her weight, eyes wide. I got it, she whispered, voice tight. Her hands flexed at her sides, fingers white, knuckles pale. Step light. Watch shadows. Don't breathe wrong. He didn't answer immediately, just watched her, eyes scanning, jaw tight. Then he said, tell me what you see. She blinked, swallowing, scanning the room slowly. Shadows, dust. Floorboards, creak. Walls, old. Windows, light coming through. Her voice was hesitant, voice trembling, but precise. Good, he said. Keep it simple. Don't add what isn't there. She nodded, swallowing, pressing her lips together, trying to calm the tremor in her chest. Outside, a crow cawed from a distant fence post. She flinched at the sound. Hear that? He asked. She looked toward the window, ears straining. Yes, crow, she whispered. Don't call it anything else. Don't imagine more than what's there. His voice was steady, firm, patient but edged with warning. She nodded, fingers clenching at her sides, boots still scraping lightly over the floorboards. Dust swirled lazily in shafts of sunlight, highlighting streaks on her sleeves and cheeks. Now, he said, taking a small step back, move to the next room. Slowly. Quietly. Keep shadows between you and the walls. Her legs felt like lead. She exhaled, pressing one foot forward, heel down, toe dragging slightly. Like this? She asked, voice low. He tilted his head, eyes scanning the floor, jaw tight. Too loud. Try again. She inhaled slowly, stepping lighter this time, feeling the boards beneath her boots, listening to the faint creaks that still betrayed her. He moved closer, hand near his belt, gaze sharp. Better. Now, look for dust. Movement in dust. Tell me what you see. She bent slightly, eyes scanning. Dust, floating near the window. Near the walls, little swirl by the chair. Floorboards, light. Shadows, still. She swallowed hard, heart racing. Good, he said, voice low. Notice the small things. Shadows tell everything if you watch. She froze as a window rattled slightly, catching the corner of her eye. Did that just move? She whispered, voice shaking. He stepped quickly to her side, hand brushing hers briefly as he gestured toward the window. Wind. Don't think it's more than that. Keep moving. Keep your head. She nodded, swallowing hard, shaking slightly. Dust motes drifted through the sunlight, swirling around them like slow specters. He gestured toward the far door. Next room. Crawl if you need. Listen. Move when it's quiet. No sudden shifts. Understand? She nodded. Yes, crawl if I need. Hands pressed to the floor, she inched forward, knees scraping lightly, heart pounding in her ears. He followed close behind, hand hovering near the wall, scanning, alert. Every creak of floorboards sounded like thunder in the tense silence of the old ranch house. She paused near the doorway, breath shallow, eyes wide. What if someone's watching? She whispered. He didn't answer immediately, eyes scanning, jaw tight. Then you keep moving. Quietly. Don't show fear. Fear is louder than footsteps. She swallowed hard, nodding, pressing her body low as she inched into the next room. Dust clung to her sleeves, streaking them. She glanced quickly at him. His face was unreadable, hat low, eyes sharp, posture rigid but protective. Good, he said, voice low. Eyes forward. Shadows to the side. Floorboards quiet. Walls silent. Don't imagine anything else. She pressed her back against the far wall, hands flexed, trying to steady the tremor in her fingers. The room smelled of old wood, dust, faint smoke lingering from the hearth. Her heart raced, ears straining. Outside, distant sounds of the ranch, hooves, wind, creaking gates echoed faintly through the walls. Tell me what's out there, he said, hand resting lightly near his belt, eyes scanning the doorway behind them. I don't know, she whispered. Dust. Shadows. Fence, maybe the horses. Nothing moving. Her voice was barely audible, quivering with tension. He studied her for a long moment. Good. Don't add more. Shadows tell all. Dust tells all. Listen to them. Watch them. A sudden creak from above made her flinch violently. Did you hear that? She whispered. He didn't answer immediately. He tilted his head, listening, eyes narrowing. Step lightly. Crawl. Watch. Listen. She pressed herself against the wall, inching slowly, every movement deliberate, every breath measured. Dust swirled lazily in the sunbeam, highlighting streaks of dirt on her cheeks and sleeves. Shadows stretched across floorboards and walls, alive and watching. They moved together through the rooms, silent but for the faint scrape of boots and fabric. He stayed close, hand brushing hers occasionally to correct a step, to steady her trembling. Keep moving. Don't look back. Shadows will guide you. She nodded quickly, swallowing hard. Every creak, every flutter of dust made her flinch. Her body ached from crouching, crawling, stretching. Her eyes were wide, scanning for any flicker of movement, any hint of danger. He stopped briefly, hand resting lightly on the doorway frame, scanning the empty room ahead. This is your test. You follow, you watch, you learn. Shadows tell all. Dust tells all. You get it? She nodded quickly, voice trembling. Yes. I get it. He didn't respond immediately, only scanning the room, jaw tight, eyes sharp. Then he stepped forward, motioning her to follow. Move. She inched forward, careful, deliberate, careful not to disturb the delicate balance of dust and shadow. By the time they reached the far corner of the house, her body was trembling from exhaustion and tension. She sank briefly against the wall, catching her breath. I think I understand, she whispered. He studied her, voice low but firm. Good. You'll need it. Shadows never lie. Dust never forgets. And neither do people out there. She swallowed hard, pressing hands to her knees, trying to steady trembling. Dust motes drifted through the sunlight, catching on the lines of dirt and sweat on her face. He stepped back, eyes scanning the room, jaw tight. Rest. Eat a little. Then we'll start again. Shadows will come. Dust will move. You need to be ready. She nodded quickly, voice small. Yes. I will. The sun shifted outside, casting long, golden shadows across the floorboards. Dust floated lazily in the air, every movement amplified. She pressed her hands to her lap, trembling, trying to calm herself, trying to hold the fragile thread of trust forming between them and the tense, haunted silence of the old ranch house. She froze mid-step, fingers brushing the edge of the table, heart hammering in her chest. A low creak echoed above, faint, almost like a sigh. Did you hear that? She whispered, voice trembling. The cowboy's silhouette filled the doorway, hat low, eyes scanning the ceiling. Probably the house, he said, voice even but sharp. Old wood. Settling. But keep moving. Don't stop unless I tell you. She swallowed hard, pressing her back lightly against the wall, boots scuffing dust across the floor. Yes. I understand. A floorboard groaned above them again. She flinched, glancing at him. It sounds like someone's walking, she said, whisper tight. His jaw clenched. Keep quiet. Listen. Don't react. Dust motes floated in the shafts of golden sunlight, slow, deliberate, almost like drifting spirits. Her hands flexed at her sides, trembling. I can't stop thinking it's someone here, she admitted. He stepped closer, eyes scanning, hands brushing the doorframe. Could be. Could be nothing. You stay calm. Watch. Shadows tell everything. She nodded quickly, swallowing, breath tight in her chest. Shadows tell, he asked, voice low. She swallowed again, voice small. Yes, shadows show, where they move, what they hide. He studied her for a long moment, jaw tight, hat tilted low. Good. Use that. Don't rely on fear. Fear hides truth. Her fingers clenched at her sides. Dust clung to the threads of her sleeves, streaked across her dirt-stained hands. Every slight movement of the sunlight felt alive, every shadow a silent observer. A faint thud echoed from the hallway, soft, almost like a footstep. She flinched violently. "There," she whispered, eyes wide, voice trembling. He stepped toward her, hand brushing lightly against her shoulder. "Come. Could be the wind. Could be the floor. Don't imagine more." Her body pressed tighter to the wall. "It sounds like someone's watching," she murmured. His jaw tightened. "Maybe. Maybe not. Don't give it power. Move when I say. Listen when I say. Everything else doesn't matter." They crept down the hall, her steps deliberate, careful, listening to every faint creak in the old house. Dust swirled slowly in the sunlight, catching on streaks of sweat and dirt on her face. She kept glancing over her shoulder, eyes wide, trembling. "Do they follow me?" she whispered. He didn't answer immediately. "Shadows follow everyone," he said finally. "Don't let them know you're afraid." A window rattled faintly in the corner. She jumped, whispering, "Wind?" He nodded slightly, eyes scanning. "Maybe. Keep moving. Keep your focus on dust and shadows. Nothing else matters." Her hands flexed at her sides. Every floorboard sounded like thunder. Every shift of light felt like a warning. She swallowed hard, pressing her hands to her knees. Dust motes drifted lazily through the air, catching the gold light, slow and almost hypnotic. "Tell me what you see," he said, stepping back slightly, hand brushing near his belt. She squinted, scanning carefully. Dust, floating near the window. Shadows, by the wall. Floorboards, silent mostly. Table, empty. Nothing else. She swallowed hard, voice shaking slightly. "Good," he said. "Keep it simple. Don't add more than what's there." She pressed her palms to her knees, trembling slightly, trying to steady her racing heart. A soft whisper seemed to drift from the walls, almost too faint to hear. She froze, head tilted, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. He tilted his head, listening, jaw tight. "Probably just the house. Or maybe wind. Or maybe something else. Doesn't matter. Don't let it scare you. Keep moving." She swallowed, nodding, pressing back against the wall, careful to keep shadows between her and the far corner. "I won't," she whispered. Another faint creak came from above, closer this time, almost like deliberate steps. She flinched, whispering, "Someone upstairs?" He didn't answer immediately. "Old wood," he said finally, voice low. "Could be. Could be nothing. Could be everything. Watch dust. Watch shadows. Nothing else." She pressed her hands to her chest, shoulders shaking slightly. Every breath was tense, shallow. She felt trapped between fear and the faint thread of trust she was learning to hold on to. "Move," he said finally, voice cutting through the thick, dusty air. She took slow, deliberate steps, eyes scanning every corner, ears straining. Dust shifted in the sunlight, moving in small eddies, shadows stretching across floorboards and walls. Every movement of her body was deliberate, measured, careful. Her boots scraped faintly, echoing through the empty hallway. They paused near the far wall, shadows pooling heavy in the corner. She pressed herself low, whispering, "I can't stop thinking someone's there." He crouched slightly, hands near his belt. "Could be. Could not be. Doesn't matter. You stay aware. You keep shadows in sight. You watch dust. Nothing else." She nodded quickly, trembling, pressing her hands to her knees. Dust clung to her hair, streaked along her sleeves, smudged her cheeks. The room seemed to hold its breath, every creak amplified, every distant noise stretched thin. The cowboy's eyes scanned the walls, the ceiling, the far corners. "Good," he said finally. "You're learning." Shadows never lie. Dust never forgets. You watch. You wait. You survive. She swallowed hard, pressing her palms together, trembling slightly, voice small. I will. I watch. I wait. A faint scratch echoed near the far wall. She froze, eyes wide, whispering, "There, something." He stepped closer, hand brushing hers briefly. Step lightly. Listen. Don't react until I tell you. Shadows show all. She pressed her body low, moving slowly toward the far corner, boots dragging faintly over floorboards, every movement deliberate. Dust swirled lazily in the light, shadows stretching across walls and floors. They reached the corner, bodies tense, eyes sharp. She pressed her hands to the floor, leaning forward slightly, listening to the faintest sounds. "I think I understand," she whispered. He studied her, jaw tight, hat low. "Good. Shadows tell everything. Dust never forgets. And the house remembers more than anyone." She pressed her palms to her knees, eyes wide, trembling. Dust motes drifted in shafts of sunlight, catching on her hair and sweat-streaked face, shadows pooling around them like silent observers. He stepped back toward the doorway, eyes scanning the empty hall, jaw tight. "Rest. Eat a little. Shadows will come again. Dust will move again. You'll need to be ready." She nodded quickly, voice small. "Yes. I will." Dust motes floated in slow, hypnotic swirls. Every shift of light seemed deliberate, every shadow alive. The old house exhaled slowly around them, memory and history and silent witnesses, and she pressed herself into the corner, trembling but focused, learning the fragile rhythm of survival under his watch. For the first time in the old house, she felt that her fear might be a tool, not just a trap, and that maybe the shadows would speak to her, if she listened carefully enough. The wind howled through the cracks of the old house, rattling windows and shifting loose shutters. She pressed herself against the corner near the hearth, knees drawn to her chest, every muscle tense. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, voice trembling. He crouched beside her, hat low, eyes scanning the darkened doorway. "Yes," he said softly. "Something's coming. Stay calm. Watch shadows." Her hands flexed at her knees, trembling. A faint scrape sounded outside, soft but deliberate. She flinched violently. They're here?" Her voice was tight, almost strangled. He didn't answer immediately. "Could be," he said finally. "Or maybe the wind. But treat it like it isn't. You follow me, do as I say, survive. Got it?" She nodded quickly, swallowing hard. "Yes. I understand." Dust motes drifted in the thin golden moonlight filtering through cracks, shadows stretching across the worn floorboards. The cowboy stepped to the doorway, hand resting lightly near his belt. "Move close. Keep low. Watch every corner." She crouched, pressing herself against the wall, boots scraping faintly over dust. A shadow shifted near the far window. She gasped softly. "There." He moved in front of her, hand brushing hers briefly, guiding her. "Shoo, don't call it out. Watch. Shadows tell all." Her heart thudded, ears straining for every faint creak of the old wood. A slow, deliberate knock sounded at the door, low, heavy. She froze, eyes wide. "Knock, someone at the door?" The cowboy's jaw tightened. "Could be trouble. Could be nothing. Don't show fear. Move when I say." She pressed back into the corner, trembling, hands flexing. Dust drifted lazily in the moonlight, catching on streaks of sweat and dirt along her arms. "I don't want them to hurt us," she whispered. He didn't answer immediately. "Then do as I say. Shadows and silence are your allies." The knocking continued, slow and deliberate, echoing faintly through the house. She swallowed hard, pressing her hands to her knees. "I should answer," she whispered. He shook his head. "No. Let them test the door. We test their patience." She pressed herself closer to the wall, heart racing, ears straining. Each faint creak of floorboards, each scratch of wind against the window felt magnified, like the house itself was holding its breath. "Step quietly," he said, moving toward the far wall, hand brushing lightly against the rough wood. "Stay low. Watch shadows. Watch dust. Listen." She followed carefully, knees scraping lightly, breath shallow. Shadows pooled at the corners of the room, stretching along floorboards and walls, alive with movement, alive with threat. "I see movement," she whispered. "Good. Describe it," he said, voice low. "Shadow, by the window. Dust, floating. Floor, still mostly. Door, shaking slightly." He nodded. "Keep it simple. Nothing more." A faint voice hissed through the cracks of the door, low, menacing. She flinched violently. "There, talking," she whispered, trembling. He moved closer, body tense, hand brushing hers. "Ignore it. Watch shadows. Watch dust. Move only when safe." She nodded, swallowing hard, pressing herself against the wall, trembling. Every shift of dust seemed deliberate, every shadow alive. The knock came again, faster this time, heavy. Do we fight?" she whispered. He tilted his head, scanning the room. "Not yet. We survive first. Watch. Move. Listen." She swallowed hard, pressing palms to knees. Dust clung to her sleeves, streaked along her cheeks. Shadows pooled, shifting faintly in the thin moonlight. Every creak, every gust of wind, every distant sound seemed amplified. The door rattled, hard this time, then a faint scuff on the porch. Her breath caught, hands trembling. They'll break in," she whispered. He didn't answer immediately. "Maybe. But only if you let fear rule. Stay quiet. Stay low. Watch shadows. Dust shows all." She nodded, swallowing, pressing herself closer to the corner. A second figure appeared outside, briefly visible through the slats of the door, then gone. "Did you see that?" she whispered, eyes wide. "Yes," he said softly. "Don't look again. Focus on dust, shadows, sounds." Her knees shook, heart hammering. The wind shifted, rattling the door, dust swirling in lazy spirals, catching on streaks of dirt and sweat along her face and sleeves. He crouched low beside her, voice low. "You'll need to be ready. Shadows show everything. Dust tells the truth. We wait." She pressed hands to her knees, trembling. "I will," she whispered. The knocking ceased, replaced by faint scuffs across the porch. She held her breath, eyes wide, listening. "Do they leave?" she whispered. "Not yet," he said. "But they'll move if we don't make noise. Keep low. Stay calm. Shadows and dust guide you." The seconds stretched, heavy, thick with tension. Every shift of light, every drift of dust seemed alive. Shadows stretched along walls and floors, pooling, shifting, silent witnesses. "I can't stop thinking they're here to kill us," she whispered, voice trembling. He pressed a hand lightly on her shoulder. "Then keep watching. Keep quiet. That gives us a chance." She swallowed hard, pressing hands to knees, trying to steady herself. The porch creaked, faint, deliberate, then silence. She exhaled slowly, whispering, "They gone?" He shook his head slightly. "Not gone. Just testing. Shadows and dust know more than anyone. Watch, learn. Wait." She pressed back against the wall, trembling, eyes wide, every nerve tense. Dust motes floated lazily in shafts of moonlight, shadows stretching, alive, moving slowly across floorboards and walls. He stepped back to the far wall, jaw tight, eyes scanning the empty room. "Eat. Rest a little. Shadows and dust will move again. You'll need to be ready." She pressed hands to her lap, trembling, voice small. "Yes. I will." Every shift of dust, every flicker of shadow seemed deliberate, like the old house itself remembered every visitor, every threat, every whispered fear. The night held them in its tense embrace, a house silent but alive, dust swirling in lazy spirals, shadows stretching and pooling across walls and floors. She pressed herself into the corner, trembling but alert, beginning to understand the rhythm of survival under the cowboy's watch. The thin thread of trust between them stretched taut, fragile, unbreakable under the silent, haunted vigilance of the old ranch house. For the first time in hours, she dared to imagine she might survive the night. She sat near the hearth, knees drawn tight to her chest, staring at the faint glow of embers. The cowboy leaned against the doorway, hat tilted low, eyes scanning the corners where shadows pooled thick and heavy. "You're shaking," he said, voice low but sharp. She pressed her hands to her knees, trembling. "I can't stop. My heart won't slow." He exhaled, jaw tight, running a hand over his face. "Good. You felt it. Now, focus. Shadows. Dust. Everything else doesn't matter." She swallowed hard, pressing her lips together. "I was so scared," she whispered. "I thought they'd break in." He didn't answer immediately, eyes narrowing at the far corner. "Maybe they would have," he said finally. "Or maybe not. Doesn't matter. You survived. That's all that counts." She pressed her face into her hands briefly, shoulders shaking. "I don't think I can survive much more of this," she admitted, voice small. He stepped closer, hat low, voice quiet. "You will. You don't have a choice. Not yet." She lifted her face, eyes wide, voice trembling. How do you know?" He shook his head slowly, jaw tight. "I've seen fear before. Seen it break people. Seen it turn them into shadows. Don't let it." Dust motes drifted lazily in the thin sunlight filtering through the cracked shutters, shadows pooling along the floorboards and walls. She pressed her hands to her lap, trembling slightly. Why do you stay? Why not leave?" He studied her, jaw tight, eyes scanning. "Can't. Someone has to keep the line. Watch the house. Watch the shadows. Someone has to remember." She swallowed hard, voice small. "Remember what?" He shook his head slowly. "Everything. The past doesn't rest. Doesn't sleep. I've learned that. You'll see soon enough." She pressed her palms to her knees, eyes wide, trembling slightly. "I don't understand." He tilted his head, voice low. "You will. Shadows will teach you. Dust will remind you. And the house, well, it never forgets. You'll learn if you survive." A faint creak echoed from above. She flinched. "Upstairs," she whispered. He nodded once, eyes scanning. "Probably. Or maybe nothing. Doesn't matter. Stay calm. Watch shadows. Dust tells the truth." She pressed back against the wall, trembling, knees drawn tight. "I don't know if I can do it. Keep watching, keep quiet, keep alive." His jaw tightened, eyes narrowing. "Then start small. Watch your hands. Watch your feet. Watch every shadow. Every dust mote. Nothing else. You learn to survive one breath at a time." She swallowed hard, pressing her hands to her knees, trembling. Every shift of dust seemed deliberate, every shadow alive, stretching across walls and floors like silent witnesses. He moved closer, voice low, almost a whisper. "I've been where you are. Alone. Afraid. Shadows taller than walls. Dust thick enough to choke you. You survive, or you don't. I've seen both." She blinked rapidly, swallowing. "You survived?" He nodded slowly, eyes distant. "For now. Barely. Shadows don't forgive mistakes. Dust never forgets. Neither do the people who watch." She pressed her palms together, trembling, trying to steady herself. A faint scratch sounded near the far wall. She flinched violently. Do they follow us again?" she whispered. He tilted his head, listening, jaw tight. Could be. Could be nothing. Could be everything. Doesn't matter. You keep moving, keep quiet, keep aware. She swallowed hard, pressing herself low to the floor. Dust swirled lazily in shafts of sunlight, catching on streaks of sweat and dirt on her sleeves and face. "Tell me what you see," he said finally, crouching slightly, eyes sharp. She blinked, swallowing hard. Shadows, still. Dust, settling. Floorboards, silent. Walls, watching. He nodded slowly. Good. Keep it simple. Don't add more. Shadows and dust show everything if you pay attention. She pressed hands to knees, trembling slightly, swallowing. Every slight creak of floorboards, every flutter of dust, every distant sound seemed amplified in the heavy silence of the house. He stepped back slightly, voice low. Now, rest. Eat a little. Keep your senses open. Shadows will move again. Dust will stir. You'll need to be ready. She pressed her palms together, eyes wide, trembling. Yes. I will. Dust motes floated lazily in thin sunlight, shadows stretching along walls and floorboards, alive and watchful. The cowboy leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, jaw tight, eyes scanning the room. Do you know why I keep you here? He asked, voice low. She shook her head slightly. No, why? His eyes narrowed, voice quieter. Because fear is a teacher. Shadows are teachers. Dust remembers what people forget. You need all three if you're going to survive. She swallowed hard, pressing hands to knees, trembling. I think I understand. He exhaled slowly, tilting his head, eyes distant. Good. But understanding isn't enough. You act. You move. You learn the rhythm of silence and shadow. She nodded quickly, voice tight. I will. I try. He studied her for a long moment, then stepped back, hat low, jaw tight. That's all I ask. One step at a time. Watch. Wait. Learn.